Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. If you've been following the pursuit of the elusive killer known as the Raven, you know we've been operating under the assumption that this was a standard, albeit highly complex, manhunt. But today, we're breaking down a massive paradigm shift. We're looking at a narrative that transforms our mysterious criminal from a solitary individual into a vast, complex organization hidden right within the law enforcement infrastructure. It is a deeply embedded conspiracy that completely shatters everything we thought we knew. If you've ever wondered how deep corruption can truly go, well, you're about to find out. And it all starts with this one chilling admission. Someone inside the Bureau was protecting Daniel. This quote from Michael Turner literally pulls us out of a standard detective story and throws us headfirst into a terrifying internal cover-up. Picture this scene for a second. There's a burning warehouse in the background. Smoke is everywhere. And Michael, a man who's been hiding in the shadows for a decade, is absolutely terrified. He wasn't hiding from the killer. He was hiding from a clandestine mole inside the FBI. The realization here is massive. The call is coming from inside the house. So that brings us to part one, the whistleblower's warning and a decade in hiding. We're starting our investigation right outside that burning warehouse, where the first domino falls. Now, the old reality we were living in was simple. Catch a solitary killer named Daniel Hayes and stop the Raven. But this new reality, it changes the rules of the game entirely. The Raven is actually a protected asset, with a mole in the FBI. This brilliantly illustrates the terrifying shift for our main characters, Ethan and Maya. They aren't just hunting a murderer anymore. They are battling a deeply compromised government agency. Moving on to part two, a decade of corruption at the Chicago Command Center. Now, it's one thing to hear a bold claim from a witness, right? But it's a whole other thing to see the digital proof. At the temporary command center, tech specialist Lucas uncovers a hidden flash drive, and what's on it validates Michael's horrifying accusation. It reveals a decade-long history of internal corruption. I mean, we're talking dozens of classified FBI files that have been systematically edited over the last 10 years, names simply erased from the record, critical evidence just vanishing into thin air, entire investigations secretly rewritten to lead agents down blind alleys. The crucial point here is that this clandestine sabotage means literally every previous investigation we've seen is now entirely suspect. And right as they find this out, the urgency just skyrockets. First, the command center monitors suddenly go pitch black. Then, a single ominous warning flashes across the screens. Trust no one. Next, total darkness. Gunshots ring out. A masked assassin has bypassed all security to strike at their whistleblower, Michael. And while Ethan and Maya manage to fight the assassin off, well, the damage is already done. The lights come back on, Michael's gone, and there's only a single black raven feather left behind as this mocking calling card. Which leads us into part three, the Raven Project discovered inside the abandoned church. Tracking a strange, encrypted frequency they've been chasing since the very beginning, Ethan's tactical team is led to a massive, candlelit, abandoned church right outside Chicago. Resting on the altar is an old leather journal. The title? The Raven Project. Ethan opens it up and reads 6 words on the very first page that completely shatter the fundamental premise of the entire story. The Raven is not one man. All those profiles they built, the psychological evaluations, it was all a complete fiction. Flipping the page, they find photographs and names of over 20 different people who have all worn the mask. 20! This isn't just some copycat situation. The journal documents all these names and dates, cementing the staggering scale of this thing. They aren't hunting a single serial killer. They are hunting a highly organized, heavily protected, vast criminal network. Okay, on to part 4, the creator's final confession and Daniel's return. Just as Lucas realizes they're dealing with an organization, the tension breaks with a slow clap. Stepping out from the shadows is the very man they believed was the sole killer. Ethan's presumed dead former partner, Daniel. Calm, totally unarmed, he drops this absolute bombshell. He says, "I was never the Raven. I only created it." But before Ethan can even process this massive revelation, a sniper's laser dot appears on Daniel's chest and a bullet silences him instantly. The organization is brutally tying up its loose ends. With his dying breath on the church floor, Daniel manages one final confession. He warns, the real Raven is already inside the FBI. This shifts the ultimate threat right back to Ethan's own ranks. It confirms exactly what those tampered files on the flash drive and Michael's terrified warnings were pointing to all along. The true mastermind isn't hiding out in an abandoned church. They are operating in broad daylight wearing a federal badge. And this brings us to part 5, betrayed by the FBI into an inescapable trap. This is the shocking climax where Ethan's worst nightmare becomes an immediate, inescapable reality. With Daniel dead, Ethan slowly looks around the ancient sanctuary at the tactical team he brought in for backup, and he realizes he is completely surrounded. Every single fellow FBI agent present has suddenly turned their weapon directly on him. The rot inside the bureau goes so deep that an entire unit is acting on the orders of the enemy. It's a brutal, instantaneous shift from being the hunter to becoming the hunted. Leaving us completely trapped in this desperate struggle for survival, we are forced to ask this crucial hanging question: who inside the FBI is the real Raven? Who is truly pulling the strings of this terrifying conspiracy? This narrative masterfully shifts focus from a standard manhunt to a desperate fight against a compromised government agency. How does one man escape an organization that writes the rules? Well, that's the incredible tension this explainer leaves us with. Thanks so much for joining me, and as always, keep questioning the evidence.